Coming up on 5 Minute News. Trump lawyers argue impeachment based on hatred, not facts. Biden to slowly allow 25,000 asylum seekers into the US. And EU drugs regulator plans to fast-track variant-modified vaccines. It's Saturday, February 13. I'm Anthony Davis. Donald Trump's impeachment lawyers accuse Democrats of waging a campaign of hatred against the former president before they sped through their defense of his actions and fiery words before the January 6 insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, hurtling the Senate toward a final vote in his historic trial. The defense team vigorously denied on Friday that Trump had incited the deadly riot and said his encouragement of followers to fight like hell at a rally was routine political speech. They played dozens of out-of-context clips showing Democrats, some of them senators now serving as jurors, also telling supporters to fight, aiming to establish a parallel with Trump's overheated rhetoric. But the presentation blurred the difference between general encouragement to battle for causes and Trump's fight against officially accepted national election results. The defeated president was telling his supporters to fight on after every state had verified its results, after the Electoral College had affirmed them, and after nearly every election lawsuit filed by Trump and his allies had been rejected in court. The case is speeding toward a vote and likely acquittal, perhaps as soon as Saturday, with the Senate evenly divided between Democrats and Republicans and a two-thirds majority required for conviction. Trump's lawyers made an abbreviated presentation that used less than 3 of their allotted 16 hours. Undeterred by the deadly violence, Senators Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz were prominent among 8 senators and 139 representatives who objected to certifying Joe Biden's Electoral College win. Both faced calls to resign. Yet now they get a say in whether Trump should be held accountable for his actions. The Biden administration on Friday announced plans for tens of thousands of people who are seeking asylum and have been forced to wait in Mexico under a Trump-era policy to be allowed into the U.S. while their cases wind through immigration courts. The first wave of an estimated 25,000 asylum seekers with active cases in the Remain in Mexico program will be allowed into the United States on February 19th, authorities said. They plan to start slowly with 2 border crossings each, processing up to 300 people a day, and a third crossing taking fewer numbers. President Joe Biden's administration declined to publicly identify the 3 crossings out of fear it may encourage a rush of people. The move is a major step towards dismantling one of former President Donald Trump's most consequential policies to deter asylum seekers from coming to the U.S. About 70,000 asylum seekers were enrolled in the program officially called Migrant Protection Protocols since it was introduced in January 2019. On Biden's first day in office, the Homeland Security Department suspended the policy for new arrivals. Since then, some asylum seekers picked up at the border have been released in the U.S. with notices to appear in court. Biden is quickly making good on a campaign promise to end the policy, which the Trump administration said was critical to reversing a surge of asylum seekers that peaked in 2019. But the policy also exposed people to violence in Mexican border cities and made it extremely difficult for them to find lawyers and communicate with courts about their cases. Europe's medicines regulator is planning to speed up assessments of any COVID-19 vaccines that are modified to protect against variants of the virus, the head of the agency's COVID-19 task force said on Friday. Marco Cavalieri, chair of the vaccine evaluation team at the European Medicines Agency, said there should be no need for lengthy, large-scale trials like those needed to evaluate the first COVID-19 vaccines, since tweaks for new variants can be tested on smaller groups. Drug makers, including Pfizer, Moderna and AstraZeneca, have been testing their COVID-19 vaccines against several fast-spreading, more infectious variants of the novel coronavirus. Variants which emerged in Brazil, Britain and South Africa have already spread around the world, piling more pressure on governments struggling to tame the pandemic, which has killed almost 2.5 million people. These are the three major variants that are worrying scientists, with their spread raising the risk that newly developed COVID-19 vaccines will need to be updated or tweaked to be effective against some variants, and that people may require one or more booster shots. Last week, the US Food and Drug Administration also said it is considering a rapid review process if mutations emerge against which the vaccines do not provide protection. You can subscribe to 5 Minute News on YouTube with your preferred podcast app. Ask your smart speaker or enable 5 Minute News as your Amazon Alexa flash briefing skill. Subscribe, rate and review online at 5minute.news. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen Podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.